and welcome to the Popcorn Junkies. Welcome to this review of
Opus.
What does opus mean?
I don't know. You did tell me, but immediately you told me, I dropped it from my brain.
Were you bored by my description?
No, it's just that I thought I don't care.
You don't care about detail.
No,
Why would you not? Why would you not care?
Was it something to do with wind?
Opus?
Yeah.
You're thinking of opening a window?
No. Well, hang on.
Opus Magnus, is it? An opus is a piece of music, isn't it? It's his Opus Maximus.
Yeah,
Right?
no, you
Opus?
did tell me that, yeah.
It's a kind of fine work of art or a fine piece of work or, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Maybe if you told me the word after the film, I would have held it in my brain.
That's true. Okay, so Opus, it's a new indie film from A24. It stars John Malkovich. John Malkovich, although not everyone's cup of tea, John Malkovich.
We had quite a funny conversation about him, didn't we? As the lights were going down.
That's our dog in the background, by the way. It also stars Ayo Edebiri, who is the actress from The Bear, that brilliant Disney Plus series set within that kind of crazy, is it New York, Chicago kitchen restaurant? Also in this film is Juliette Lewis. Who remembers Juliette Lewis? She's just a sensational sort of offbeat, kooky, punk-style actress who I just love. She's got such an expressive face. Always remember in that Robert De Niro Cape Fear film. This is directed by Mark Anthony Green. It's his directorial debut. But interestingly, this is also produced and some of the music is done by Nile Rodgers. And Nile Rodgers, we all know, co-founder of Chic and was part of the whole Daft Punk moment with those wonderful tracks that we love. So this is a
well, I
film.
think you should say that. Not everyone's going to love Daft Punk.
I think the vast
You're
majority of
saying
people.
we? It's a bit presumptuous.
Do you like Daft Punk?
Well, I wasn't particularly swayed by Daft Punk.
You love Daft Punk.
Do I?
Lose yourself to dance.
Ooh! Oh yeah, I love it.
And then that other one, which the girls play all the time. I can't remember what it's called.
I love Daft Punk.
Yeah, okay, so Opus. So what is it about? This is about a young writer played by Ayo Edebiri. She works at, let's say Rolling Stone magazine. It's a sort of music journal, NME type thing. And they're approached or they're sent a tape and a message regarding a pop star who's...
You said pop star the other day. I don't think he was ever.
Well, what do you think he is?
I don't know. He wasn't a pop star though. I think because when you explained to our girls about it, I thought, no, he wasn't a pop star.
Well, he's a legendary musician
of some sort.
Imagine Elton John fused with Freddie Mercury's teeth, which was quite a funny detail in there. Fused with a bit of Madonna, and then think of Michael Jackson's
and a bit of Jean-Michel Jarre.
Oh, Jean-Michel Jarre. Do you remember him?
Yes.
No, clearly. What was the name of Michael Jackson's kind of strange escape? Was it called Fantasyland?
What
was it called?
Oh God, no, don't. No, shush. Graceland. No, that's Elvis. Was that a bomb?
What was that? Is it lightning? That was quite something.
So bizarre.
It was so loud. What was it called? Not Graceland?
No, Funnyland something. Partyland. Disneyland.
Anyway,
no, we can't move on.
No, hang on. You've pushed us away from it. He's a legendary pop icon, music icon. But take all of those...
Not a pop star.
No, take all of those stars, mulch them into kind of one sort of... But what's defining about him, John Malkovich, is that he's remote, he's reclusive, he hasn't done anything for years, and this magazine suddenly receives an invite to what's essentially like a press junket, isn't it? They've all been invited to kind of come to his pad. And I remember...
And you said, right at the beginning of the film, it's really giving me Menu vibes.
Yeah, the Menu, yeah.
The Menu, which we loved.
Yes.
And it really gives the Menu vibes. It's heavily influenced, I suspect, by the Menu.
Absolutely, heavily influenced by the Menu. And I don't think you saw it because it was too creepy for you, but also heavily influenced by Midsommar.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I heard people as we were walking out saying, it's so like Midsommar.
Yeah. I mean, in many regards, I read one critic said this is almost like a photo-fit A24 film. I mean, it kind of is. It's kooky, it's indie. Okay, so it stars John Malkovich as this reclusive kind of celebrity. And it is a film about celebrity. It's a film about idols. It's a film about the lunacy, if you like, in terms of the industry that surrounds the propping up of ego, of talent, and the sycophants. I mean, this is a film about sycophancy, isn't it? Everyone's got access, and John Malkovich has kind of invited all of these people, of which Juliette Lewis is one, and one of the other women in the group who's brilliant. She's a paparazzi photographer. They're kind of the vermin that feed off the entrails of celebrity. All of them, aren't they? Journalists, rock,
Well, there was another performer there, wasn't he? Was he a bit of a rock star?
Yes, they're all there.
They were there as fauners. They fawned over him.
Yeah, but and then what transpired? I have to say, this really reminded me of something else that I did. I was reminded of it whilst watching it, and I forgot to mention it to you. But years and years ago, I was invited as an arts journalist to Peter Gabriel. The musician. Peter Gabriel's place in, I think it was in Somerset. And we were all invited, and we were walked through all of his areas of kind of recording, and then he did an interview. So there was a real tradition for this kind of thing to happen. Something similar happened for me and Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics. We were invited to his recording studio. We spent a day with him, and we were and it was like being with royalty. It's a very odd process.
And it was a little bit vibes of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
We got the golden ticket. So,
yes.
It was a very, very select group of people that were going to be invited to this. And so, right at the beginning, when the what's her name, the main girl?
Ayo Edebiri.
Yeah, when her character is invited, we think, what's going on here? Yeah. And then we're off.
Well, they head off on a tour bus, and really, and Juliette Lewis is in there. She's a TV presenter, isn't she? She's a chat show kind of host. And they all head off, and they're all so pleased and privileged and cock-a-hoo.
Nobody's heard from them in 30 years.
Exactly. And interestingly,
salivating at what they were going to get out.
Yes. What's the exclusive? Who's going to? And what I thought was a really nice detail was Ayo Edebiri's character, Ariel. Her boss, her editorial boss, has brought her along because she got the invite. This is the weird thing. She was invited, so you're left with this question.
As he was. Yeah. They were both invited.
Oh, they were both invited. But anyway, he's nicked the story from her, hasn't he? He's basically said to her, you take notes.
Just take notes and then I'll write it up.
And so I thought it was quite an interesting film about all of the kind of, layers of ambition.
And the thing about her
within
is
the media.
Her ambition is much more open. She's not pretending to be anything. And she wants to write a side story. Sorry, after the thunder, it looks like we've got snow out there now.
It's it was almost like the heavens were torn open.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
So she decides that she wants to write a story on the story of the people that are living with said rock star.
Yes, exactly. And what we discover is when they arrive at this encampment, we have a cult-like sort of situation.
In the middle of nowhere.
It's sort of like in Albuquerque or New Mexico or somewhere like that. And I mean, I was made to think. Certainly, when I did a reaction to the trailer some weeks ago, I thought this was going to be riffing on that whole kind of what's his name, Kanye sort of church in the hills type thing. He's surrounded by people. He's
very
propped
like
up.
Everyone wearing blue.
Yeah.
What is it? What colour did Kanye have them all in?
White.
White.
They're all in white, and so again, everyone there was sycophantic, and I think quite early on you got a sense. Did you feel a sense of sinister unease right from the get-go?
As soon as everyone was wearing blue, I thought, aye, what's going on here?
Aye. Now, this is I kind of knew that this was going to take a dark, dastardly turn at some point. And I had this genuine fear that that's not your kind of film. If I'd described to Nadia what this film was by the end, you would have probably said, oh, I'll pass on that. Because what transpires is that essentially John Malkovich has brought these people together. It's a kind of honey trap, isn't it? It's kind of a bear trap. And you realise that basically he has beef with pretty much every one of these people.
He's astonishingly creepy right from the first moment, but it is a nice slow build.
It is a nice slow build.
Until
tell us about
his first entrance into the dining room, and he tells that bizarre joke.
Oh my God, about Muhammad Ali.
So it's not just these 5 people. There've been people that have been invited from all over, aren't there? There's these long tables, and a lot of those are invited, aren't there? That I wasn't too sure about that.
I think a lot of them were also his lackeys. They were sort of part. I was getting that sort of. Do you remember the Jonestown massacre in the 70s? The guy who got everyone to sort of drink. You're talking cult. This is cult. And quite early on, it's quite culty.
Culty, because they all sit with these long tables, and he comes in and tells, oh my God, he's so good.
Who were the 2 people who were telling the story of Muhammad Ali and was it Bruce Lee?
Yeah. And he tells this bizarre story, but oh my God, Malkovich is Oscar winning in this, isn't he?
And I'm pleased you say that, because tell us what you were saying as we went in about
because Mark said it's got John Malkovich, and I went, oh, and he said a lot of people don't like John Malkovich. I went, I do.
What?
But not always. Because sometimes he can be a bit
much.
A bit too...
Yes.
A bit too a bit too mannered,
Yes.
a bit too, we know where we're going with this, a bit staccato.
I think you have the same problem.
That staccato thing that he can do sometimes,
Yes.
it feels samey.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit anxious about that. But this is an absolute tour de force, this performance. He is living it. I was completely absorbed into his character, even though he was giving me the creeps. Usually when something gives me the creeps on screen, I really hope they haven't got the next scene, but I wanted to see more and more of him.
I mean,
he was so outrageous. And in the most simple things that he did that just turned your stomach.
Yeah, he didn't do, to quote that film Tropic Thunder, I'm only quoting that film, he didn't do sort of what they say in that, which is full retard. He kept it very real, and he actually kept it very low key. And what you discover is he's a maniac. He's a nutter. He's an eccentric. He's crazy, and yet at the same time, it's all very contained. I think the thing
he has a messiah complex.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
truly believes that he is God. That he's all powerful over everything.
Where I found him so absolutely. I mean, I found him so watchable throughout this, actually, and I'm a big fan of being John Malkovich. But you're right. I think I sometimes get with him that thing that you get a lot, I think, with Nicolas Cage, which is you're getting Nicolas Cage, and you can sometimes feel I'm just getting John Malkovich. In this instance, it really suited the part, but there were moments.
Relished the part.
He relishes this part so much.
God.
He really, really enjoys himself.
Everything. There's even Silence of the Lambs in this, isn't there? So many different
so many different things. But what I loved about how he brought all these people in, and you are aware throughout the film, like with Juliette Lewis, they're made up, they have to have their lady gardens shaved, and they're sort of overly looked after. What did you think of that whole kind of the spa experience? You know, how they've got the list of
it was just all
treatments.
cult behaviour, wasn't it? It was to keep when somebody asks you, look at what's happening at the moment with Trump and look at America. When something is so out of what is acceptable, that is so over a boundary, many decent people will just go with it because of the shock. So that's what I thought about all of it. But right from when they took their phones and they went into a bag and everything, the build is great, the sinister, but it's very clear, I think, from the beginning that something terrible is going to happen.
What I really liked about the build was it also built its build on the basis of
humour underneath.
Yeah, lilting humour, but also that constant encroachment on the freedoms of everyone on this visit.
Which is what cults do.
Yeah, but because they were all still after the story and the access and the sycophancy.
Greed.
And the greed, absolutely pure
Because even
ambition.
Ariel was greed.
Ah, well, that's what's so clever.
She wanted her book out.
Yeah, absolutely, that's what's so clever. But he clearly connects with her, Ariel, doesn't he, in a particular way? And there's that wonderful moment.
Well, but we find out at the end why. Because he's toying with her.
Exactly.
Because he's in full control.
Exactly. But I thought there was a wonderful scene where she sort of incidentally bumps into him.
Incidentally.
And he's reclined on a lounger by the pool. And she's critical. She asks questions of things. She's not quite certain. And you can see, I thought
I couldn't help but think of Trump again.
Yes.
Because he's surrounded by his people that agree with everything and sycophant and look at him like he's a demigod. And she just goes in and asks just normal questions. She just treats him as a normal person.
When she says she laughed, she found it childlike. And you see his look of amazement. He does a very good job of singling her out as someone who, so she's strangely and interestingly in amongst all these obviously ambitious individuals.
But you don't know.
She's strangely the most ambitious.
She is. She's going around the back. She wants the second story. She's the most ambitious.
Yeah.
But all the way through it, of course, you do not know about the twist that's coming at the end.
No. I mean, this film is so like
fantastic.
so many other films. There was a film on there over Christmas I didn't see it at the cinema. Nadia, you caught me watching it, called Blink Twice.
You watching
No,
it?
because you were in the kitchen and you kept being drawn into it. No, you kept being drawn into it. There's a very specific reason.
It gave me nightmares for days.
Blink Twice is a very good comparison. It's very like this, where a number of women were brought into a billionaire's retreat. It was playing on the whole Epstein kind of island thing. And they were being drugged and all that kind of stuff. And in this film does a very good job of kind of making the world and their experiences, what's real, what's not real. Are they not exactly hallucinating, but where's the reality? Where are the edges of reality? Where are they safe? What's the normal kind of way to kind of interact with each other? You know, there are some really shocking moments in this, like for example, when one of the characters gets struck suddenly by a wayward arrow, which one of the children in the kind of in the sect or the cult accidentally fires, and you know, so there are sort of real sort of.
Well, the first shocking one is the massage.
Yes.
And Mark made an excellent short film called The Masseuse.
Yes.
I am actually in the film.
Yeah.
And I turned to you, didn't I? It's the masseuse.
It was,
And
right
I
down to
thought-
that POV
I thought,
shot of the feet.
Have they seen the masseuse?
It had a certain kind of, I was like,
Yeah, I
okay,
did. I
maybe
think
you've
they were
seen this.
influenced by you.
Yeah, no,
Well,
and
she will put a link for your masseuse under
Yeah.
here and have a look.
Yeah, no, and I liked the spa-like thing. I liked the, and I mean, and the rub of the film is that essentially it just spirals into it's a revenge thriller in a sense, where he dispatches or disposes of various individuals. It's very funny. I thought I thought the script was funny.
Please God, let nobody call this a comedy, you know, the way they do.
No,
anything.
it's not.
It's not.
No,
It
it's not
has
a comedy.
wit. It's not very funny. It has dry wit.
But it has some sequences in it that, for me,
Smart wit.
Yes, smart wit. But there are also some sequences in this that are perhaps some of the sequences that won't get most of the obvious emphasis. For example, there was a moment where they're all invited into a room with beanbags and they watch this puppet show, which tells the story of Billie Holiday. And sometimes when you're watching these films, like, you know, you sort of get these scenes and you realise that some of the puppets were dead rats that had been sewn together, and then you've got this quite serious retelling. It's almost a perfect short film of the life of Billie Holiday, and as you're hearing it, how she was treated, how she was objectified, how she was exploited, how she was taken advantage of by the media, by men and what have you. And obviously John Malkovich is likening himself to that. So on the one hand,
That awful woe is me celebrity.
but did you
type
feel in
is-
some way, did you relate at all to his being a victim?
No.
Not at
Because
all.
I'm not a victim in any way, shape or form.
No, I wasn't suggesting you were, but did you find there was any justification to him? I quite enjoyed watching him take his revenge.
No.
Oh, I liked it.
Because megastars that moan on and on and on about how terrible it's been for them. No.
What about the wonderful moment where she asks the question? Because it's a great film about how urban myths can develop about people. And she says to him, there's this urban myth surrounding what's his name? Alfred Moretti. There's an urban myth saying that he bought the teeth of Freddie Mercury and has the teeth of
It's a
Freddie
great
Mercury.
moment where he just dismisses it with a look.
Yeah, but it could be true. It could be true. Look, there are moments in this film of great visual and storytelling fun. There's a moment which for me was like watching Elton John sat in front of a row of dead bodies, and I thought,
But because when it turns gruesome, it is so gruesome. I had to watch quite a bit of it with my head in Mark's shoulder because I thought, no, I can't see it. But it was very creative. I thought the gruesomeness was very creative.
It was.
The bit when that girl jumps out of the beanbag was there's real jump moments.
Yeah, and creepy
proper
moments.
horror movie jump moments.
and I really didn't expect that to happen. Where
It's kind of the last quarter almost of the film. There's proper gore. There's, as I say, I would call it creative horror.
Yeah, and again, a little bit like that film Blink Twice, this film then goes beyond the end. So you have the denouement, you've seen what's happened to all of these characters in this kind of retreat. His cult, the group, the members of his cult have dissipated around the world. But of course, the ultimate ambition and the ultimate achievement is that Ariel, played by Ayo Edebiri, has managed to write her book.
And has sold millions of copies, and she has time and again approached the prison to meet up with Malkovich's character, and then eventually he says yes, and it's a real Silence of the Lambs moment.
Real Silence of the Lambs moment. Right down to, but what I love about him is he homes in on a detail in her book where he's frustrated by the lack of accuracy. And it's just, I thought it was just a really neat riff. The whole film was a neat riff on ambition and how he could identify who was going to be the most successful and the most ambitious in the group, and how even him ending up in this Silence of the Lambs moment was him accomplishing his own goals.
So was he a genius?
I think he was a genius.
An evil genius.
I thought he played it all the way through. He didn't miss a beat, I thought, John Malkovich. Right down to, let's not forget.
She was fabulous.
She was fantastic. She was really good. But let's for a moment just indulge in, there's a wonderful protracted scene in the middle of this film where he's playing the music from his album, which incidentally, it's kind of quite cool music. I think Nile Rodgers is involved in the actual music. And he was dancing. There is a sort of 5-minute scene in this where he dances around everyone.
And he's so unvain.
It's so brilliant.
Good.
It was so brilliant. I really enjoyed it. Is it the kind of film, I mean, your judgment is, would you recommend people to go and see this film?
Well, I mean, I absolutely loved it. I would be recommending it with the caveat that be careful you don't like any gore, but I don't like gore and I love the film. So like you said, I'm glad I got to see a screening of it ahead of time, because if I'd known what it was, I probably wouldn't have seen it.
I think if I had a criticism, I think at the point where John Malkovich sort of leant to the side and enjoyed, if you like, the torturous outcome of what happens to all of these people who've been critical of him, I think it got a bit confused. I think it didn't quite know how to wrap up that side of things. It kind of tripped into a classic she needed to escape the compound type situation, which I thought was a bit predictable.
And the thing is, it's like, what was the merger of the other ones to signify? Well, was it simply so that he could be put in jail for the 5 and not admit to anything else? Had he murdered anybody else? Were these the only people he murdered to get the end that he wanted?
I could have done with a bit more. I think there could have been more room, and I think Mark Anthony Green wrote it too. I think they could have explored the richness of his individual gripes. With those individual, like the Juliette Lewis character. I was expecting a bit more from her, and the paparazzi woman was fantastic in the moments.
Fantastic. I think the problem is we wanted more in certain areas, which is a good thing. But I will 100% recommend it. Say to people, have a shoulder that you can dig your face into.
And I just
at one point I was at my face like this and I was looking at him through one eye and he was going that's what I was seeing your face.
But I love a film as well.
You don't look away.
No, I can't. I love looking at it. But there was a great long protracted scene where so much horrible stuff was happening behind a door. But no, I loved it. I thought it was a really neat, clever, nifty little movie about sycophancy, celebrity, the idolising of talent, for want of a better expression. And in that sense,
how you can put a little army into society and mix all of society up. Another thing that might be happening in Trump's America.
Yeah, the whole cult
MAGA
thing.
coming out, all the
May
6th, I can't get the right month now.
January
6th. But people out. Out.
Yeah, metaphoric. It's usually
very
you know how horror films are generally an expression or articulation of society's concerns or worries or preoccupations at any given moment. And you're right. This is very much a sort of paranoid film about people being threaded into society
to clear it up. Because there's a maniacal messiah complex person who thinks he's got the answers to everything.
Absolutely.
Just think about it.
Absolutely. So what would I give it? I'd give this 89 out of 100.
And also, just a little recommendation, because Mark has already reviewed it, but I watched it for the first time the other night. Anora.
Oh, you enjoyed?
I loved it.
There you go.
I loved it.
Anora, the Oscar winner.